Dynoc process essentially means that you're creating a highlighted surface the way you would see a normal car. So you put on this foil called Dynoc to make sure we can check the highlights exactly the way we want them. We also use up in the ceiling these straight lights so we can actually check that all the highlights all over the surface is running exactly the way we want to run. So we actually use the clay model in and out through the process of building a vehicle as a verification tool. We can go in and change small areas even late in the process of developing a vehicle. And just before we sign off the final long lead tooling, which is the steel panels, aluminum panels, we actually go in and we do a final check on the highlights with a fully Dynoc vehicle. We even Dynoc the glass to make sure we check that, so every single detail gets checked in a full-size clay model. So when we talk about a clay model, obviously it's the clay modelers, and that's the department is the modeling area, which is clay modeling and hard modeling. And it's a process which today flows seamlessly together with the digital process, which is alias modeling. And we constantly exchange data where we scan the clay model, put it back into the computer, use digital data, work with engineering, then we mill out these changes in clay, but then we see sometimes they're not the way we thought they were going to be. So we then start changing it by hand in clay, scan it and bring it back. And that goes forth and back multiple times throughout the project. So sculpting and clay is still needed because it's kind of where you get that final emotional touch into essentially this big metal or aluminum shape. That's the number one point. The second point is that when you look at something on a screen, it's very hard to see the exact proportions. Just like when you see a movie and you see a movie star, sometimes you think they're taller than they really are. You see them in reality and they look different. And that's the same with a car. So we mill this out and we check the size of the different areas, the proportions of the whole vehicle. And it's actually better, I think, to make then these changes right there and then by hand, scan it and put it back into the computer. You actually save time that way. But for me, the ultimate thing is emotion. To get this sort of almost human feeling into the shape is what you need to do in clay by hand. Well, for us at Fisker, clay model is essential. It's essential to have clay modeling because it's where you get that final human, that sculpture, that human feeling in it. And that's something that I would never give up. I think it's a must. It's nothing to do with that we don't have the best alias models in the world or alias modelers, but it's really to do with to get that final essence, almost that artistic touch out, and that emotional feeling has to happen in clay. So for me, you cannot make a great car design without clay. Well, the artistic expression that happens in a clay model is probably pretty similar to what happens in digital modeling, that you have input from a designer and you have input from the modeler, and that sort of fuses together. When we talk about clay modeling, you actually see it right there and then, what's happening as you potentially are removing clay or you're adding clay. So the designer can almost say, stop, that's it, there it is, and you can discuss it sort of in real time. When you do it on a computer, you usually have the alias modeler first build a surface and then the designer takes a look at that surface. So it's a little more interactive on clay. Also, I think the fact that it's reality, you see it right there and then, you probably extract slightly more on the artistic side out of a full-size clay model. Today, we actually spend a lot more time doing digital modeling before you get to a clay model. So by the time you get to the clay model, you have a pretty good idea of the design. And it actually takes a lot of what I would have called boring clay model work out of the equation that used to happen many years ago, where the clay model will block everything in from the very beginning. Today we start with a milled out model that at least have the design, sort of initial design concept there. And usually it's built with a foam buck. You then add clay, probably about 30-40 millimeter. And then you mill out this vehicle, this clay model, and then you start the actual sculpting, but you're much closer to where you want to be, so the clay models don't anymore have to do some, very early work where they just, block everything in from scratch. So before I go into detail, let's take a look at the vehicle. Let's look at the Fisker Ocean. So you can obviously see it's got a super wide stance. We did that for maximum handling. It's got 22-inch wheels as an option. You will notice that this is actually a wheel that's made from a mix of aluminum and recycled carbon fiber. So we are going all through with our recycled materials. In the interior, you will notice that we have a lot of recycled materials. Everything from recycled plastic bottles and fishing net from the oceans is what's made out all the carpets, and we also use recycled t-shirts for some of the materials inside. But this is a luxury interior, and I think that's the exciting part, that we can use recycled materials and actually create a luxury vehicle. Once you get a closer look, you'll actually see the seats. They don't have seams like normal seats have. This is a new freeform technology that we're using. And you will also notice in the interior a couple of high-tech items that I'm going to talk about right now. So as we developed this car, we wanted to make sure that we could put something in this vehicle that nobody else had. So first, let's talk a little bit about the specifications of this vehicle. I think that a lot of people are either looking at, do I just drive around in my SUV in the city, and do I really need to have a huge battery? And then there's other people who says, well, I want the large battery because I want to go on long trips and I don't want to have to charge it too often. So we have two different battery technologies for this vehicle. We have in the standard vehicle, in the sport version, we have LFP battery. As you might know, we have a deal with CATL, the world's largest battery company. So the base vehicle will have LFP battery technology, and the two other vehicles will have NMC. So the base vehicle is $37,499, and that vehicle will have 250-mile range. It'll accelerate from 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds. We have made it front-wheel drive because of better handling in snow, better traction in snow, and more efficiency. It also has silicon carbide inverters for even more efficiency, even in the base version. The next version is called the Ultra, which is $49,999, and that vehicle will have a class-leading range of 340 miles. There is no other car under 50,000 that even comes close to that. So, and it'll have four-wheel drive, and it'll have 540 horsepower. That used to be kind of the numbers you would see in a Ferrari, but that's going to be the car that you can roll, take your kids to school with. And once you have dropped the kids, you can have some fun. It'll go 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. And it has torque vectoring. And I've actually driven this on a track, or early prototype, and you can drive about 10 miles faster than you even think is physical possible with torque vectoring. So once we get these cars in the hands of you, you will actually experience that you feel like a Formula One driver when you drive this vehicle. So this is the most advanced powertrain, I think, in the world right now. And one of the reasons, by the way, that we could have this advanced technology is because we have lowered the development time from normally about 4 years of a vehicle to less than 2.5 years. That means that all our technology in this vehicle was chosen this year. If you go and buy a car today, it usually has technology in it that was chosen 3 years ago, which is why it doesn't always feel as modern as your smartphone. But in this vehicle, we actually chose the technology this year, so when you get the car next year, it's pretty new technology. Now, the top version is called the Fisker Extreme, the Fisker Ocean Extreme, and that vehicle is fully loaded, $68,999.
It got over 350-mile range, and it's got a solar roof, the largest in the world. And that solar roof can give you up to about 1,500 miles. You obviously got to live in a nice place like California, where there's a lot of sun. In ideal conditions on commutes, maybe low speeds, it could get as high as 2,000 miles. And that's quite a lot. It's emission-free and totally free. So that will be standard in the top version. We also got a couple of other really cool features. One is California mode, which I think we might have a video of actually, where you push a button and all the windows roll down. And I'm also talking about these 3/4 windows and the rear window. And by the way, we call these 3/4 windows here the doggy windows, because you can have the dog here in the back and it can stick out his nose and have a little bit of fresh air without having to jump out of the window. So I think we have a video of that, and if not, then I'll move on. We also have something really unique inside the vehicle that we have filed a patent on, and I think we'll be the first in the world to have as a production vehicle. So if you think about your phone, when you use your phone and type on it, you hold it like this. And when you take a picture, or if you want to watch a movie, you turn the phone around. And basically in our vehicle, we have a screen. On a push of a button, it changes from portrait mode to landscape mode. It just rotates. That is a really cool feature. Nobody else have that. And that's something that when you experience that, that's a whole new experience. And when somebody asks, well, what is different with the Fisker Ocean versus other cars? Nobody else has a rotating screen. Nobody else will have 350 or 340 miles in our price range. I don't think anybody has torque vectoring in our price range. So we really have a super innovative vehicle here, which I think, $37,500, that's something a lot of people can afford. That's without any incentives. With the $7,500 incentive, you're talking about $29,999. I think that's a pretty good deal for this vehicle, quite frankly. So we're excited. We are still on target to launch next year, meaning our first vehicles will be delivered next year in November. In fact, everything is going so well. I think there's somebody from Magna here, so I better not say this, but things are going so well, so I think we can maybe deliver a few vehicles even before our official SOP. That's how fast we are moving. And I want to thank the entire Fisker team, Magna, and all our suppliers, because we have taken a whole new path of how to develop a vehicle. And it's been tough. It's been tough to talk to suppliers about doing something in 2 years instead of 3.5 or 4 years. But we have managed it because we have made super fast decisions that normally take 3 to 4 months, we make them in 3 to 4 days. And that's the key, super fast decisions. But it's allowed us to move so fast, it's allowed us to get this new technology into the vehicle. And I'm really happy that this has become reality. The vehicle you see here is made from the mass data of the production vehicle. It's obviously made from, early prototype tools, but it's drivable. It sits on the aluminum platform that you can see over here. We have an aluminum intensive skateboard. But then for cost reasons, we made the upper body steel, and has two advantages. One is cost, and the other is repair cost. Steel body is way lower cost to repair. It can be repaired anywhere. You don't need special body shops. So another point of this vehicle was also cost of ownership, the lowest cost of ownership. And as you know, we also have a revolutionary Flexi lease, and we will also launch our Flexi lease in 2023. And that means you can lease this vehicle for $379 a month, everything included, and up to 30,000 miles a year. That's double of what most others offer, because we are really convinced about our powertrain, our durability of this vehicle. And of course, what it means for us is that when you lease this vehicle, by the way, you can give it back anytime. Nobody does that today. So you can lease this vehicle and you can give it back after a month, after 3 months, after 6 months. And when you give it back, we'll take it, we'll polish it up, and we'll lease it out to somebody else. And we are planning to keep our vehicle fleet on the Flexi lease for 12 years. And after 12 years, we'll fully recycle the vehicle. So that is, again, about sustainability. What do we do about sustainability? We want to recycle our entire vehicle. We want to recycle the batteries in the end. I also want to mention that this vehicle is getting built in a CO2 neutral factory that's mainly run by hydro. So our ESG effort and our sustainability effort is really something that we take serious. And we are working, of course, on our goal of by 2027 being able to build a full CO2 neutral vehicle. It's a tough goal, but I think it's good to set tough goals to the entire team, because that way you really work towards something that truly is going to change the world. So I want to thank everybody and come up and take a closer look at the vehicle. We're going to make it spin. There's also another vehicle over there, which is in a super cool matte blue color, which is going to be a production color. That's one of the things that we are super excited about, offering up to 14 colors for our vehicle. And as I said, we have 19,000 orders. People put down $250 deposit on our Fisker Inc. website. And I hope we are going to be sold out for the first year of production. In 2023, we are planning to make about 40 to 50,000 vehicles as we ramp up end of next year. So thank you very much for coming. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
So the FI pilot is a system which consists of multiple sensors and brain, the domain controller in the center. Sensors, for instance, it's a high-resolution camera and another 4D radar sensor, which gives us high-resolution information about the surrounding of the car. The brain needs the sensor fusion, and then on top of that, we're building application layers, how to use actually this information and combine that with the driving dynamics of the car. The difference is that we have access to the application layer, and we can add all the different applications we'd like to create on top of this system. So Magna is a great partner to work with. They have the competence, they have great people to work with. We are working on a partnership level, where we understand how to implement and integrate the components into our Fisker Ocean. That's one aspect. And the other aspect, we are interested in adding our own binaries, our own software components on top of that. And that's how we do the integration on one hand side together. It's a partnership model which works very well to really provide our customers the most innovative ADAS components we can provide. The future-proof is a wide description you can use. For me, it's important that we create an open platform, because I can't really predict what's happening in the next 10, 20 years, but it requires an open platform structure. So if you have the infrastructure in place, and if you're connected to the cloud, you can understand and collect data continuously, and you can combine those data in the cloud with AI and understand what else can be launched over the years. That makes it very attractive. A learning system which improves over the lifetime the platform quality and requirements and functions. That's exactly how I see future-proof. Safety is a key element. And to protect the customers from distraction from driving situations which are really critical and overwhelming, that's a key element of a driver assistance feature. Additionally, you want to get a convenience back. If you're driving on a highway, a long drive, you want to actually not sitting behind the steering wheel. You want to have something like an autopilot, an auto function, or Fisker intelligent autopilot, which you can use then to get some time back. You want to keep the time for yourself reading something. You want to actually get this time being used effectively, and that's a key element where we see one is safety, the other one is convenience, and that is where we see our system evolving.
Take a look at the Fisker Ocean right now.